So as soon as the end of the week numbers are pretty much established, and because there's 0 days till expiration, every day is is another gamma squeeze, scenario. But now we're starting to get into the second half of the week. So now we're going to look to see on Friday, where are the levels? Are they here? Is the gamma squeeze 605, 600? You can clearly see this on the hourly SPY chart, can't you? The two lines I just drew, very inartfully, I'll add. There we go. 600, 605. Let's do it again. More like, let's see, there, there, whoops. Let's try that again. Right there. There's 605-ish. Here's 600-ish, right? So this is sort of that gamma squeeze level that we had last week. So if you look at I don't know what the hell's going on here. If you look at, so today, this is yesterday's, right? So that's Tuesday, that's Monday, Friday, right? So if you look at the gamma squeeze level for Friday, you can see it was just hanging up here. No way now the markets either were going to take out the highs and drive it higher, which you would have seen a massive short squeeze, but you can see here in the morning, it immediately sold off, and that triggered the VIX to go higher. And as the VIX went higher on Friday, that took out the 605 calls. And then once you were within range, then you can see gamma squeeze in action. Take out as many 605 calls and 600 and thereabouts puts. Does everybody see that? So this was the destruction of call and put holders last week. And then now you have this week. So what happens this week? Well, you get a gap up Monday morning, la, 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 la. Everything is nice, until. Everybody see what I'm doing here? So now, is it still 605, 600? And oh, by the way, do we not have 605, 600 as our put debit spread? Right. So now, when you see this, are we back? Are we back to this? These, levels, or now that we know we're not going to get a rate cut, do the market makers reprice things down into here? So if you look where would that be? Well, that's going to be down here. So what is that? That's 597. So those would be 597 potential calls, and then here 590. So this becomes kind of like the 590, 595 maybe, or 597s, initially here, to then if that breaks down, woo, boy, you got quite a drop. That opens the door to some destruction, market destruction, which is why if this comes back down towards 570, 580, 570, would it not make sense for us to put a put fly somewhere around 5,800 and then another one a little further out at 5,700? Why not? They're going to be cheap. Why not be in position so when that happens, we're there inexpensively? Now, you already have some short positions in place, but we'll see. Yeah, you can see how the market is trying here. I would say not really an issue until, probably 603, 602. Yeah, high 602 to 603.50, kind of this area here. If the market blows through that, then we may have a whole new narrative. I really have a hard time believing that any bounce to the upside, any oversold bounce to the upside at this point is going to be meaningful. If anything, these oversold bounces should be sold and add more short exposure. And we'll look for some clues along the way. We'll look at the dollar. We'll look at the yields. We'll look at the VIX, and then we'll check out Apple and Nvidia. Nvidia is red. Apple is green still. You would think Apple would be rolling over. You can see they're really not. They're still playing the game this way, right? This needs to kind of break through this level, which would be about 130, just to round it off, and then Apple needs to break. Let's just call it 230. So if Apple breaks 230, while at the same time Nvidia breaks 130, if that happens, and the SPY breaks through that lower level that we just showed you, and VIX obviously starts to head up, then the market's absolutely going to be repricing in their levels closer to, the 597 to, 595 initially, and then 595, 590, and then the break. Everybody got that? So we'll have to just watch. Apple starting to feel the pressure. Little double top here. So watch Apple and see if it starts to duck underneath that level. Now Nvidia's catching a little bit of a bid, so it's coming up off the bottom. Now, shenanigans. So we just have to watch before we make any major adjustments. Slowed down here. I don't see the SPY catapulting higher. I just don't. I look at these little moves to the upside on the SPY as opportunities to get more. So at the open, I took off my initial SPY vert for almost $2 right at the open, about a third of them. If we come back down to that zone, I'll probably take out another third of them and then maybe hold another third. And obviously, we've got more SPY verts for the following week. We'll also have some Microsoft to see if Microsoft will plunge. Before we go there, though, let's just watch the dollar. So remember I said yesterday, dollar going higher, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, don't know. But as you see, the inflation number came out at what, 8:30? What does that tell you? Can somebody tell me? This is when the inflation number came out, right here. So what does that mean? What does this kind of candle mean on the US dollar based on the inflation number being high? Type faster. Nobody's going to answer the question, or are you just all two-digit typers? No, I already talked about no rate cut. What my question was, what does that candle on the dollar, the US dollar index, right at the moment in which the CPI came out? Yeah. Well, what it means is, remember we said yesterday, like the dollar going down, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? The dollar going up, well, we know that's not necessarily a good thing for companies, but sometimes the markets go up and the dollar goes up with it. Like, which is it? If you were in the room with me yesterday. So, yeah. So what this is pointing to is that inflation going higher, that was the report. That's bad. CPI, bad, right? Dollar going up. So now we know dollar up is bad. Because sometimes the dollar goes up and the SPY goes up with it. So now we know that yields, this is a continuation of yesterday afternoon's conversation. Yields going up, we already know that's bad. We don't want yields to go higher. Trump wants them lower. Um, Companies that want to borrow money want it lower. The consumer wants it lower so they can buy houses and cars, right? Yields going up is bad. That is more of like, recession fears. That's not good. The dollar now going up, Dixie, that now is inflation fears. We are now back to inflation potentially running the show. Dollar up because of fear of inflation, yields up, fear of inflation and potential recession, stagflation, all of that. This is bad shit right here. And it should be confirmed by watching the VIX pop and get over 20, which it has not done yet. So now that we look at the VIX with a little bit more color than we had yesterday, well, looky here. Boom, there goes the VIX. It popped up over 17. Right? But then Powell must have said something to allay some fears. And so it came down a little. That's kind of like a little bit of the market adjustment as well. But it found its footing here, didn't it? So if it finds its footing at 16 and can break back up through 1710, 17, almost 1720, you know what'll happen next, right? So recap again. Dollar up, bad. Yields up, bad. VIX back up greater than, let's just call it 1720, just to round the number up. This is the scenario for a market sell-off. Got it? Now, something that you could also look to, as we said before, is rotten apple. So does Apple, after this nice move again, like run into the daily 100 and tuck back underneath it? Does it lose the daily 100? Because if it loses the daily 100, it will most likely take out that recent swing to the downside. Okay, we know that. It'll start heading to the, let's call it either the daily, the hourly 21 or the hourly 50, somewhere around, what was the number I gave? 230, right? Right there. So we got to watch Apple 230 to see if it loses that. These are all, parts of the same trigger. Because when you get parts of that same trigger, then you can add, I would say you could add March shorts. Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, SPY, Qs. You could add those short positions for March. Tentatively at first, and then once you break here, or like on SPY, what I showed, like I don't need to give you every single trade. I should be able to talk to you about a narrative, and then you guys should know what to do. If all of that happens and you break the daily 50 here on the SPY, you break 230 on Apple, you break 130 on Nvidia, VIX goes above 1720, et cetera, you begin your short position, and then when you break that level, which is 590, that's when you step on the gas. Any questions? I'm not going to end it right there. I just gave you the outlook going all the way into March. Let's look at Nvidia. Wow, this is like destruction of the hottest stock on the planet is now trading below its daily 50 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is the 13th trading day in a row that Nvidia, the darling of the stock market, is trading below the 50. Look at the rejection here. bang, bang. And the only reason why, what's the reason why I didn't take that short? That is classic short setup, is it not? Michael, is that not the classic signal to short? I mean, look at this. Gap down, attempt at a gap fill, failure at a retest of the 50. I mean, is that not the perfect short? So why didn't we take it? If you've been listening to the narrative, because of the rotation. Apple rotation, yeah. Jadester. I love calling you that. Got to be careful, your dad's on. Yeah, rotation. So it sells off a little bit into Apple, but what happens when Apple gets way overbought and they start dumping Apple? Well, if they dump Apple and pump it into here and you're laying into a short vert or butterfly for this and it ends up doing this, you're screwed. So we don't do that, do we? We've got to wait for Apple to break 230. Well, how do you know this, Michael, right? Well, because I've been watching it and I've been charting it and I see this. I see, Apple going higher as NVIDIA goes lower. And then I see the reverse. I see NVIDIA catching a bid as they sell off a little bit of Apple. Not always. Sometimes they play together. When they play together, that's when the market is normal. But when they don't play together, you got to be careful. Yeah? Well, you got to be careful buying it on the swap, Michael, because they could always start syncing up again. And so if they start syncing up again, they will go down together and they will go down hard. And Microsoft will go down with it. So will the Q, so will the SPY. VIX gets up over 17, will shoot above 20. If the VIX stays above 20, you'll get a rollover down to 570, which is why we should look at SPX butterflies.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video from Trade With Me Now. Make sure to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel so you make sure that you catch our next video right when it's released. Also, if you have a question or comment, please leave that in the comments section below. And of course, if you want to learn more about Trade With Me Now or join our community of profitable traders, go to tradewithmenow.com. There's also a link in the description below.